Okay, so there's a ceasefire in the Middle East. Or is there? It's actually unclear, and no one knows what the hell is going on. Israel's continued to hit Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. Hezbollah's continued to hit Israel. There's been people injured, kids, teens injured near Tel Aviv. It's a mess. The United States has all but won this war. Which begs the question, what's actually in it for the US? Why are we accepting this ceasefire? Look, that 10-day ultimatum, Trump's ultimatum, was winding to a close Tuesday night a couple days ago. And Iran finally, an hour before the deadline, was like, whoa, okay, chill. Let's have a ceasefire, President Trump. And I get that. That makes sense. Look, they're down. They're down, bleeding, and almost dead. But what's in it for the US? Why did the US accept? And I think there's a few options, right? I mean, first of all, the straight reopening is nice, good for the markets. The markets surged instantly. Whether or not it stays open is obviously unclear. It obviously avoids hitting actual civilian infrastructure, the electrical grid and oil fields and things like that, which would have potentially catastrophic negative effects for the people in Iran downstream of this, even if the IRGC is eliminated as a result. But I think the most likely outcome here is similar to what's going on and what's happened in Venezuela, actually, fairly recently, a few months ago. Which is, what happened is, look, very broad bones, is Maduro was taken out. They took out first chair, and then they took a gun and put it to the head of second chair, Delcy Rodriguez. They said, okay, play ball, cooperate with the US. And she said, okay, absolutely, please don't shoot, I'll absolutely cooperate, no problem. And you can usher in democratic reform over time, which does take time. But in the meantime, you can have kind of at least a functional government, and that the US can kind of keep an eye on and work with cooperatively with Delcy Rodriguez, which is what's been happening. And it's the same thing in Iran. Now, obviously, it's a different situation, different place, different context. There was these protests that broke out and the crackdown on the protesters, and kind of this was a people first, people-driven uprising by the Persian people, by the Iranian people. But still, there are some echoes and rhymes here that I think are similar enough to potentially see this as a potential outcome, likely outcome, where, look, Khamenei, the supreme leader, was taken out on day one. The top 2/3 of the command structure of the military, IRGC military, was taken out. Mojtaba, Khamenei's son, Khamenei Jr., is like in a coma somewhere. So I think what we'll see very likely tomorrow and Friday morning, at least in my mind, what seems likely, is something along the lines of setting up a second chair and putting a gun to their head, to be fair, where you still have a government that functions and can work and can do things, which is complicated. But it's going to be cooperative with the US, it's going to stick to all the US demands, and it's going to enable the Iranian people to usher in reform as they see fit downstream of this, without any horrible crackdowns. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think it's an evolving situation. We'll see what happens tomorrow morning.